Sarah stood at the medical bay window, watching the rescue ship dock with the station. Her feathers trembled slightly, a sign of the anxiety she tried to hide. The Valerian medical officer had seen many things in her 15 years of service aboard Harmony's Promise. She had treated burn victims, radiation poisoning, and countless injuries from the war. But this was different. The ship carried children. Human children. She checked the report again on her datapad. 7 survivors from the colony transport vessel Dawn's Hope. The ship had been attacked by unknown hostiles 3 days ago. All adult crew were dead. The children had survived in an emergency pod, drifting in space until a coalition patrol found them. Dr. Saris. Commander Thexal's voice came from behind her. The insectoid Zenthari clicked his mandibles in what Saris recognized as disapproval. I must again voice my concerns about this assignment. Saris turned to face her superior officer. Thexal's compound eyes reflected the medical bay's sterile lights. His exoskeleton gleamed dark purple, and his forearms were crossed in a gesture that meant the same thing across most species. Disagreement. Commander, I am the only pediatric specialist on this station, Sarah said quietly. Her voice had the musical quality typical of her species, but it was strained. There is no choice. There is always a choice, Thexal replied. We could transfer them to Outpost 7. They have human staff there. Outpost 7 is 3 weeks away. These children need immediate psychological evaluation and care. They have been through severe trauma. Thexal's antennae twitched. They are predators, Doctor. Young predators, yes, but predators nonetheless. Your own family was killed by humans during the contact wars. How can you— That is precisely why I must do this, Saris interrupted, her voice sharper than she intended. She took a breath, smoothing her feathers with one delicate hand. I took an oath, Commander. To heal, to help. If I cannot look past my grief to care for orphan children, then what kind of doctor am I? The words sounded noble. Saris wished she believed them completely. The truth was more complicated. Yes, she had taken an oath. Yes, these were children who needed help. But the nightmares still came. The memories of finding her own nest empty, her 2 fledglings taken by human weapons fire during an evacuation gone wrong. She hated humans. Or she had. Or she thought she did. Now she did not know what she felt. The docking clamp engaged with a heavy thud that vibrated through the deck. Saris picked up her medical kit and walked toward the airlock. Behind her, Thexal followed, his footsteps clicking on the metal floor. The airlock door opened. 2 coalition security officers stood there looking uncomfortable. Between them huddled 7 small figures wrapped in emergency thermal blankets. They looked so small, so fragile. Saris had reviewed human anatomy during the flight here, refreshing her knowledge. She knew humans were primates, mammals, persistence predators with forward-facing eyes and hands capable of both gentleness and violence. She knew their young were born helpless and remained dependent for years. She knew all of this academically, but seeing them was different. The oldest could not have been more than 12 standard years. A boy with dark skin and darker eyes that looked far too old for his face. He held a smaller child against his chest, a tiny girl with pale skin and hair the color of grain. The others clustered close. 2 children who looked similar enough to be siblings with almond-shaped eyes, a red-haired boy with freckles across his nose, and 2 more girls who seemed to be around 8 or 9. They all stared at Saris with those predator eyes, forward-facing, tracking movement. Assessing threats, the oldest boy bared his teeth slightly. Saris fought the instinct to spread her wings and flee. She knew from her reading that humans showed teeth for many reasons. This was fear, not aggression. Probably. Hello, she said softly, crouching down to appear less threatening. My name is Saris. I am a doctor. I am here to help you. The children said nothing. The smallest one, the girl in the older boy's arms, started to cry. The sound was high-pitched and distressing. The boy held her tighter, and his eyes narrowed at Saris. Stay back, he said. His voice cracked. Don't hurt her. I will not hurt anyone, Saris promised. You are safe here. I know you have been through something terrible. I know you are scared, but you are safe now. One of the security officers, a Felonian with gray fur, shifted nervously. Doctor, should we— Leave us, Saris said firmly. Commander, please have the security team wait outside. These children do not need more strange faces right now. Thexal's mandibles clicked in protest, but he gestured for the security team to step back. I will be right outside this door, Doctor. Call if you need assistance. The door slid shut. Saris was alone with 7 human children. For a long moment, nobody moved. The children pressed together like a single organism. Their eyes followed every movement Saris made. She could see they were exhausted, traumatized. The smallest girl continued to whimper against the boy's shoulder. Saris slowly set down her medical kit and sat on the floor, folding her legs beneath her. She made herself as small and non-threatening as possible, keeping her wings tucked tight against her back. "I lost my children too," she said quietly, "during the war. I understand what it feels like when everything is taken away." The oldest boy's expression flickered. "Surprise, maybe, or suspicion. You have been very brave," Saris continued. "All of you. Surviving for 3 days in that pod. Taking care of each other. That takes great courage." One of the twins, a girl, spoke in a whisper. "Are you going to send us away?" "I am going to take care of you," Saris replied. "First, I need to check that you are not injured. Then we will find you proper quarters, food, and clean clothes. You can stay together. I promise. You promise?" The oldest boy's voice was challenging. "Everyone makes promises." "Yes," Saris said, "and I will keep mine." She reached slowly into her medical kit and pulled out a protein bar, the kind that was compatible with human digestion. She had ordered several cases of human-appropriate food when she received the assignment. She held it out to the smallest child. The girl looked at the boy holding her. He hesitated, then nodded slightly. The girl reached out with one small hand and took the bar. Her fingers brushed against Saris's hand. They were warm. Mammals, Saris remembered. They regulated their own body temperature. The girl tore open the wrapper and ate hungrily. Saris pulled out more bars and offered them to the other children. Slowly, carefully, they each took one. The tension in the room decreased slightly. "What are your names?" Saris asked. The oldest boy watched her for several more seconds. Then he spoke. "Marcus. This is Emma." He indicated the small girl. "That's Kenji and Yuki, the twins. That's Connor, the red-haired boy. And that's Zara and Misha, the other 2 girls. It is good to meet you, Marcus, Emma, Kenji, Yuki, Connor, Zara, and Misha," Saris said, pronouncing each name carefully. "I know everything is strange and frightening right now, but I will do my best to help you. Will you let me check if you are hurt?" Emma, still chewing her protein bar, nodded. She climbed down from Marcus's lap and walked over to Saris. She was so small, barely reaching Saris's chest even though Saris was sitting down. The child looked up at her with blue eyes that seemed too large for her face. "You have feathers?" Emma said softly. "Like a bird?" "Yes," Saris replied. "My people have feathers. Would you like to see?" Emma nodded. Saris carefully extended one wing slightly, just enough for the child to see the white and silver plumage. Emma reached out and gently touched a feather. Her expression filled with wonder. "Pretty," Emma whispered. Something cracked inside Saris's chest, a wall she had built carefully over 3 years. This tiny human child, this member of the species that had killed her own babies, was looking at her with innocent trust. Saris blinked rapidly. Valerians did not cry the way humans did, but their eyes could still fill with moisture. She quickly composed herself and pulled out her medical scanner. "Let me check you, Emma," she said gently. "This will not hurt. It just looks inside to make sure everything is working properly." Emma stood still while Saris ran the scanner over her. Mild dehydration, some bruising, signs of stress, but nothing serious. One by one, the other children allowed Saris to examine them. Marcus came last, still wary, still protective. When she finished, Saris stood and offered her hand to Emma. "Come, I will show you where you will stay. There are beds and a bathroom and toys." "Toys?" Yuki's eyes widened. "Yes, some children lived on this station before the war. Their things are still in storage." Emma took Saris's hand without hesitation. The other children followed, with Marcus bringing up the rear. As they walked through the corridors, Saris noticed other crew members stepping aside, watching with expressions ranging from curiosity to fear to outright hostility. She held Emma's hand a little tighter. Whatever came next, she had made a promise. And despite everything, despite her grief and her fear and her doubts, Saris intended to keep it. She was their doctor. And perhaps in time she could be something more. 3 weeks had passed since the children arrived. Saris's quarters had been modified to accommodate 7 young humans, though calling it her quarters no longer felt accurate. It was their quarters now, their nest, The first week had been the hardest. The children woke screaming from nightmares. They fought over food, not because there was not enough, but because scarcity had been programmed into them by 3 days of terror. Emma refused to sleep unless Marcus was nearby. Kenji and Yuki spoke in whispers to each other in a language Saris did not understand, excluding the others. But slowly, things changed. Routines formed. Breakfast at 0700 hours, lessons at 0900, physical activity at 1300, dinner at 1800, stories before sleep. Saris found herself reading human fairy tales from the station's database, her translator struggling with phrases like once upon a time and happily ever after. The children's laughter, when it finally came, was the most beautiful sound Saris had ever heard. It was also the most frightening to everyone else on the station. This is unacceptable. Counselor Mira, a Delphinian with pale blue skin and large dark eyes, slammed her hand on the table in the station's conference room. Yesterday, those children were running through Corridor 7, screaming and chasing each other. They terrified a group of maintenance workers. Saris kept her voice calm. They were playing tag. It is a common human game. It looked like hunting behavior, Mira countered. The sounds they made, the way they pursued each other. Because that is what the game simulates, Saris explained. Humans are persistence predators. Their play often mimics hunting and fighting. It is how they learn cooperation and physical skills. It is normal. Normal for predators, Commander Thexel said from the head of the table. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Dr. Saris, I understand you believe you have the situation under control. But there have been 17 formal complaints in 3 weeks. Saris's feathers ruffled. Complaints about what? Children playing? Children laughing? They have done nothing wrong. They bare their teeth constantly, another counselor added. It is aggressive behavior. Humans smile when they are happy, Saris said, her patience wearing thin. They show their teeth in joy, not aggression. Yes, they also show teeth in anger, but the behaviors are different. If you took time to learn, we should not have to learn their behaviors, Mira interrupted. They should learn ours. They should learn to be civilized. The word hung in the air. Civilized. As if the children were wild animals that needed to be tamed. Saris stood abruptly, her wings spreading slightly in agitation. They are civilized. They are children who have lost everything, and they are adapting remarkably well. If this council cannot see that, then perhaps the problem is not with the children. She left before anyone could respond, her heart pounding in her chest. As she walked back to her quarters, she tried to calm herself. Getting angry would not help. She needed to be rational, to document everything, to prove that the children were thriving. The door to the quarters slid open. Inside, chaos reigned, but it was the kind of chaos that Saris had come to recognize as normal. Kenji and Connor were building something with blocks on the floor. Zara was reading on one of the beds. Yuki was showing Misha how to braid hair. Emma sat at the table, drawing with the colored styluses Saris had found for her. Marcus looked up from the data pad where he had been doing his lessons. His eyes were sharp, assessing. He was too smart for his age, this boy. Too aware. You are upset, he said. It was not a question. Saris smoothed her feathers. I am fine. You are a bad liar. Marcus set down the pad. They want to send us away, don't they? The other children stopped what they were doing. 6 pairs of eyes turned toward Saris. Emma's lower lip trembled. Saris sighed and sat down at the table. There was no point in hiding the truth from them. They had been through too much to be treated like babies. Some people on the station are afraid, she said carefully. They do not understand humans. They see you play and think you are being violent. They hear you laugh and think you are being aggressive. We are not, Yuki said softly. We are just being kids. I know, Saris replied. But many people here have never met human children before. They only know humans as soldiers, as enemies from the war. Marcus's jaw tightened. So what do? Act like we are not human? Pretend to be something we are not? No, Saris said firmly. You should never have to pretend. But perhaps we can help them understand. Show them who you really are. Emma climbed into Saris's lap, something she had started doing in the 2nd week. The child smelled like the station's recycled air and the soap Saris used. She tucked her head under Saris's chin. Will you keep us? Emma asked in a small voice. Even if they are scared? Saris wrapped her arms around the small body. Yes, I promised, remember? Promises break sometimes, Emma whispered. Not mine, Sarah said, and realized she meant it. Somewhere in the past 3 weeks, these children had stopped being an assignment and become hers. Hers to protect, hers to raise, hers to love, though that thought still frightened her. Over the next week, Sarah tried to integrate the children more carefully into station life. She took them to the observation deck during quiet hours to watch the stars. She brought them to the hydroponics bay, where a kind Verdanian showed them how plants grew in space. She enrolled them in the station's educational program, though their human teacher had to attend remotely from another station. But incidents kept happening. Not because the children misbehaved, but because others misunderstood. Zara laughed too loudly in the cafeteria, and a Valerian child started crying, convinced she was about to be attacked. Connor ran to catch up with his siblings, and 2 security officers drew their weapons. Marcus stood up for a smaller alien child being bullied, placing himself between the bully and victim, and the bully's parents filed a complaint about aggressive human behavior. Each incident appeared in a report. Each report went to Commander Thexall, and each day Saris felt the noose tightening. She tried explaining human behavior in endless meetings. She provided videos of human children playing, showing how wrestling and roughhousing were bonding activities, not violence. She cited studies about human child development, about how physical play was essential for their growth. It made no difference. Fear was not rational. One evening, Saris returned to the quarters to find the children unusually quiet. They sat in a circle on the floor, their faces serious. Marcus saw her and gestured for her to join them. "We have been talking," he said. "We know we are causing problems for you. Maybe it would be better if we went to the human facility." "No," Sarah said immediately. "But you would not get in trouble anymore," Yuki added. "They would not be afraid if we were gone." Saris looked at their faces. These brave, broken children who were trying to protect her by offering to leave. Her heart felt like it was breaking. "Listen to me," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "All of you, you are not the problem. Fear is the problem. Ignorance is the problem. And I will not let those things win. We are a family now. Families stay together. Even when it is hard?" Emma asked. "Especially when it is hard," Saris replied. Connor, who rarely spoke, surprised everyone by saying, "My mom used to say that family is not about blood. It is about who stands beside you when everyone else walks away." "Your mother was very wise," Saris said softly. Misha, the quietest of the older children, moved closer to Saris. "You stand beside us. Always," Saris promised. That night, she sang them Valerian lullabies, her voice carrying the melodic tones of her people. The words were about safety and home and belonging. One by one, the children fell asleep, curled together on the beds they had pushed into a cluster, creating their own nest. Saris watched them sleep and knew that the hardest part was coming. Commander Thexall had scheduled a formal hearing for the following week. Her guardianship would be reviewed. The children's future would be decided by people who saw them as threats rather than victims. She looked at Emma, whose small hand was tangled in Yuki's hair. At Marcus, who even in sleep kept one arm stretched protectively toward the younger ones. At all 7 of these impossible, wonderful children, who had somehow become her reason for waking up each morning. 3 months ago, she would have said humans had taken everything from her. Now humans had given her something back: purpose, hope, and a family she had never expected to have again. She would fight for them. Whatever came next, she would fight. The hearing room was too cold. Or perhaps it was just Saris's blood running cold as she watched the council members file in, each one avoiding her eyes. Commander Thexall sat at the center of the long table, his mandibles neutral, his expression unreadable. Saris sat alone at a smaller table facing them. Behind her in the observation gallery, she could feel the eyes of station personnel watching, some curious, some supportive. Most simply wanted the predator problem resolved. The children were not present. Saris had left them in the quarters with a security officer she trusted, a young Felonian named Ressa, who had actually taken time to meet the children and see them as people. Marcus had wanted to attend to defend himself and his siblings, but Saris had refused. They had been through enough. "This hearing is now in session," Thexall announced, his translator converting his clicks and buzzes into coalition standard. "We are here to review the guardianship arrangement of the 7 human juveniles currently under the care of Dr. Saris. Doctor," You may make an opening statement. Sarah stood, smoothing her medical coat. She had prepared a speech. Logical arguments, statistics, psychological data. But as she looked at the faces of the council, she knew facts would not be enough. They had already decided. This was just a formality, still she had to try. Honorable council members, she began. I have served this station for 15 years. I have treated hundreds of patients. I have never once allowed personal feelings to compromise my medical judgment. These children were assigned to me because I am the only qualified pediatric specialist within 3 weeks' travel. I accepted this assignment because it was my duty. I have continued because it is the right thing to do. She activated the holographic display showing medical charts. In the 6 weeks these children have been in my care, their physical health has improved significantly. Weight gain is normal. Sleep patterns are stabilizing. Psychological assessments show decreased trauma responses. They are healing. No one disputes your medical competence, Dr. Counselor Mira said. What we question is your objectivity. You have become emotionally attached to these children. Of course I have, Saris replied. That is what happens when you care for someone. Emotional bonds are not a flaw in pediatric care. They are essential. Children need attachment to develop properly. Human children, perhaps, another counselor interjected. But what about the effects on you? On this station? We have documented 43 complaints about the children's behavior. Saris's feathers ruffled. Complaints based on misunderstanding and fear. Not one incident involved actual aggression or harm. Let us review the evidence, Thexal said, activating his own display. Security footage began playing on the large screen. The first clip showed the children in the common area. They were wrestling on the floor, a tangle of limbs and laughter. To anyone unfamiliar with human play, it looked violent. Marcus had Kenji in a headlock. Connor was trying to tackle Marcus. The girls were cheering them on. This was recorded 3 weeks ago, Thexal narrated. Witnesses reported being frightened by the noise and apparent violence. They were playing, Saris protested. Human children engage in rough physical play. It teaches them coordination, strength, and social bonding. Marcus was being gentle. Watch his hands. He is controlling his strength to avoid actually hurting his brother. The next clip showed the children at mealtime. They were eating quickly, almost frantically, reaching across each other, sometimes taking food from each other's plates. It looked aggressive, competitive. Resource-guarding behavior, Mira commented. Classic predator traits. Classic trauma behavior, Saris countered. They spent 3 days believing they might starve. This has already improved significantly. 2 weeks ago, Emma would not let anyone near her food. Now she shares willingly. More clips followed. The children running through corridors. Emma baring her teeth in what the council interpreted as a threat, but was actually a smile. Marcus standing with his arms crossed, shoulders squared, in what was simply a nervous 12-year-old trying to look confident. Each piece of evidence was presented in the worst possible light. Each normal human behavior was framed as proof of inherent violence. The fundamental question, Thexal said, pausing the footage, is whether these children can be safely integrated into coalition society, or whether their predator nature makes them a permanent threat. Their predator nature? Saris felt her voice rising. They are children. Orphans who have lost everything. Yes, humans are predators. They evolved as hunters, but they also evolved as caretakers, as cooperators, as beings capable of great compassion. You are seeing only what you fear to see. And you are seeing only what you wish to see, Mira replied. Doctor, we have reports that the smallest child calls you Mama, that you sing to them at night, that you have rearranged your entire life around these children. You have lost objectivity. I have gained perspective, Sarah said. Before these children came, I lived in the past. I lived in my grief and anger. They have taught me that healing is possible, that bridges can be built. That is exactly our concern, Thexal interrupted, not unkindly. Your own trauma, your own losses from the war have made you vulnerable to inappropriate attachment. These children represent a chance to replace what you lost, but they are not your children, Doctor. They are human. The gap between your species and theirs is vast. Saris felt something crack inside her. The gap? The gap is only what we make it. These children laugh and cry and dream like any children. They need love and safety like any children. If you cannot see that, then the gap is in your understanding, not in their nature. Emotional arguments will not sway this council, another member said. We need assurance of safety. Then let me present the incident from 3 days ago. Thexal said, pulling up another file. The one that prompted this hearing. The footage showed the station's primary school area. A group of alien children, mostly prey species, were surrounding a smaller child, a Delphinian boy no more than 5 years old. The older children were pushing him, taking his belongings, calling him names that the translator bleeped out. Then Marcus entered the frame. He assessed the situation instantly and moved between the bullies and their victim. His posture was protective but non-aggressive. Ceres watched, her heart in her throat, remembering what happened next. "Leave him alone." Marcus's voice came through the audio. He was not shouting. He was not threatening. He was simply stating a fact. "Make us human," one of the older bullies taunted. Marcus did not move. "I do not want to fight you, but I will not let you hurt him." The bullies advanced. They pushed Marcus. He did not push back. They shoved the smaller child. And then Marcus moved. He did not strike. He did not attack. He simply positioned his body as a barrier, absorbing the blows meant for the smaller child. When the bullies tried to go around him, he moved with them, always between them and their target. A security officer finally arrived and broke up the confrontation. The bullies ran. Marcus helped the crying Delphinian boy to his feet, checked him for injuries, and walked him to safety. The footage ended. The bullies' parents filed complaints, Thexal said. They claim Marcus was aggressive and threatening. They want him removed from the station. Sarah stared at the commander. "Did you watch the same footage I did?" Marcus protected a smaller child from bullies. He used his body as a shield. He did not retaliate even when struck. That is not aggression. That is heroism. That is predator behavior, Mira insisted. Protective aggression is still aggression. Then what should he have done? Saris demanded. Stand aside? Let them hurt that child? Would that have made him civilized in your eyes? To abandon someone in need? The council members exchanged glances. Saris pressed her advantage. You want to judge these children by human standards while refusing to understand what those standards are. Humans are loyal. They protect their pack. They stand up for the weak. These are not flaws. These are the very qualities that make them valuable members of society. Or dangerous ones, Mira said softly. Doctor, please understand. No one questions your heart. But these children will grow. They will become adults with adult strength and adult predator instincts. What happens then? Then they will be adults who were raised with love and understanding, Saris replied. Who learned that violence is not the answer. Who saw that different species can live together peacefully. Or they will be adults who were rejected and feared and taught that they can never belong. Which outcome do you prefer? Before anyone could answer, the door to the hearing room burst open. Ressa, the security officer, stood there, her fur standing on end. Commander, we need you immediately. The children... Thexal stood abruptly. What about the children? They are here, sir. They insisted on testifying. I tried to stop them, but... Marcus walked past Ressa into the hearing room, followed by all 6 of his siblings. They were holding hands, a united front. Emma clutched her stuffed animal, a threadbare bear she had been holding when rescued. Their faces were determined, though Emma looked ready to cry. No, Sarah said, standing. Marcus, you should not be here. Yes, we should, Marcus replied. He looked at Commander Thexal. You are deciding our future. We deserve to be part of that. This is highly irregular, Mira protested. The alarm screamed through the corridors as Saris ran, the children staying close behind her. Emergency bulkheads were slamming shut throughout the station, automatically sealing off compromised sections. She could hear the rush of atmosphere being vented, the groan of metal under stress. This way, she shouted, pulling them toward the emergency shelter nearest to their quarters. If Section 7 was breached, they needed to get to safety immediately. But Marcus pulled back, his hand slipping from hers. Our things. Emma's medical supplies, she needs them. Emma had a respiratory condition, minor but requiring daily medication. In the panic of the hearing, Saris had not thought to bring the emergency supply she always kept ready. There is no time, Saris said, reaching for him again. An explosion rocked the station. Not a hull breach. Something worse. The lights flickered and went red as backup power engaged. Through the nearest viewport, Saris saw ships. Small, fast, heavily armed pirates. Her blood went cold. Pirates did not just breach stations. They boarded them. They stole supplies, medical equipment, anything valuable, and they did not care who got in their way. Run, she commanded. pulling the children in the opposite direction from Section 7. They needed to reach the main security hub where armed personnel could protect them, but the station had other ideas. Another bulkhead slammed down ahead of them, cutting off their route. Behind them, she heard more explosions. They were being boxed in, trapped between sealed sections in the breach. Here, Kenji pointed to a service corridor, one of the maintenance tunnels that ran through the station's infrastructure. It was cramped and dark, but it might be their only option. Saris made a split-second decision and pushed the children into the tunnel. "Move, quickly!" They crawled through the narrow passage, their breathing harsh in the confined space. Saris brought up the rear, her wings scraping against the tunnel walls. Behind them, she heard new sounds. Boots on metal, harsh voices speaking in a language the translator could not quite parse. The pirates were inside. The tunnel opened into a storage bay, one of the old cargo holds that was rarely used now. Saris helped each child down, counting heads. 7 children, all present. "All safe for now. Stay quiet," she whispered. "Stay hidden. I need to find another way out." But before she could move, the bay's main door exploded inward. 3 figures in mismatched armor stormed through, weapons raised. They were not any species, Saris recognized. A mix of features suggesting genetic modification or perhaps mixed heritage from the galaxy's less reputable colonies. The lead pirate saw them immediately and grinned, revealing filed teeth. Well, what do we have here?" "Medical officer and a bunch of brats. That's worth something." Saris spread her wings, making herself as large as possible, placing herself between the pirates and the children. "Take whatever supplies you want. Leave us alone." "Oh, we will take the supplies," the pirate said, advancing. "Medical equipment, medications, very valuable. But hostages are valuable too, especially Coalition personnel. And those," he pointed his weapon at the children, "those are human cubs. Humans pay well for their young." "Over my dead body," Saris said, her voice steady even though her heart was racing. The pirate shrugged. "That can be arranged." Marcus moved before Saris could stop him. He grabbed a metal pipe from the floor and positioned himself beside her, his young face set with determination. The other older children followed, picking up whatever they could use as weapons. Kenji and Yuki moved the younger children behind them. "Get back," Saris hissed at them. "You are children." "So were you when you decided to protect us," Marcus replied. "We protect our pack," the pirates laughed. "The little predators want to fight?" "This should be entertaining." They attacked. Saris had never been a fighter, but instinct took over. She used her wings to confuse and distract, her taloned feet to kick and strike. But she was one small medical officer against 3 armed pirates. The children fought with desperate creativity. Marcus swung his pipe at knees and weapons, trying to disarm rather than kill. Kenji and Yuki worked together, one distracting while the other struck. Zara threw anything she could reach. Connor used his smaller size to dodge and weave, but they were children facing adults, and the pirates were not playing. One of them backhanded Marcus across the face, sending him sprawling. Another grabbed Yuki by her hair and yanked her backward. The third raised his weapon toward Kenji. Saris screamed and threw herself forward, spreading her wings wide. The energy blast hit her instead of the child. Pain exploded through her chest. Red. Everything was red. "She fell. No!" Emma's voice high and terrified. Saris tried to get up, but her body would not respond. The pain was enormous, consuming. She could feel wetness spreading across her chest. Blood, her blood spilling onto the metal floor. Through dimming vision, she saw the pirates advancing on the children, saw Marcus trying to crawl toward her, his own face bleeding, saw little Emma kneeling beside her, tiny hands pressing against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "Sarah, Mama," Emma sobbed. "Don't die. Please don't die." The lead pirate grabbed Emma by the arm, yanking her away. "Enough of this. Stun the brats and take them to the ship." Then the bay door exploded again. This time, Coalition security poured through, weapons firing. The pirates were forced to take cover, releasing Emma. The child ran back to Saris, pressing her small body against Saris's side. Commander Thexol led the security team, his mandibles spread wide in battle stance. His weapon fired with precise controlled bursts. Within seconds, 2 of the pirates were down. The third tried to run and was stunned. Thexol rushed to Saris, his eyes widened at the blood pooling around her. "Medical team, now!" But before anyone else could move, Emma stood up. The small child, no more than 5 years old, placed herself between Saris and the commander. Her face was covered in blood, Ceres's blood. Her eyes blazed with a fury that seemed too large for her small body. "You did this," Emma screamed at Thexel. "You made them come here because you scared everyone. You made her have to protect us." Yuki appeared beside her sister, equally bloodied, equally furious. "She saved us." "She always saves us." Marcus staggered over, holding his bruised face. Kenji, Connor, Zara, and Misha formed a circle around Ceres's fallen body. 7 children, battered and bleeding, standing between her and the rest of the station. Thexel raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. "Children, please. We need to help her. Let the medical team through." "No," Emma shouted. She pointed at Ceres, then at herself, at her siblings, at the red blood that covered them all. "She bleeds the same color we do. She's one of us. You can't take her away." The words hung in the air. Ceres, through her pain and fading consciousness, saw Thexel freeze, saw him look at the blood on the floor. Red. Human blood was red. Valerian blood was red, mixed together, pooled together, identical. Marcus stepped forward, his voice cracking with emotion. "She chose us when no one else would. She put herself between us and danger. She is our pack, our family. If you take her from us, we will never trust anyone again. We will never believe that predators and prey can be family." Kenji's voice joined in, trembling but strong. "You wanted to know if humans can be part of the coalition? If we can learn to live peacefully. She taught us that. She showed us how. If you destroy that, you destroy any hope we had." Yuki pointed at the fallen pirates. "Those were the bad guys. Not us, not her. We fought together. We bled together. That is what family does." Emma looked up at Thexel, tears streaming down her small face. "She is my mama now. You cannot have her. She is ours." The commander stood perfectly still. The security team waited, weapons lowered, watching their leader. The medical team hovered nearby, ready to help but waiting for permission to approach. Ceres tried to speak, but only a weak sound came out. Emma dropped back down beside her, taking her hand. "Do not die," Emma whispered. "Please, we need you." Thexel looked at the scene before him. 7 human children covered in their guardian's blood, forming a protective circle. A Valerian medical officer who had thrown herself in front of a weapon to save children who were supposed to be her natural enemies. The blood on the floor, red and identical, mixed together until no one could tell which species had shed which drop. He had fought humans in the war. He had lost clutchmates to human weapons. He had believed humans were incapable of true cooperation with prey species, that their predator instincts would always win. But he had never seen human children defend a prey species adult with such fierce loyalty. Had never seen them willing to die to protect someone who was not their biological family. Had never seen them cry over anyone but their own kind. "Let the medical team through," he said quietly. The children hesitated. Marcus looked at Ceres, then at Thexel. "Promise she stays with us." "I promise," Thexel said. And he meant it. The children parted, still wary, still ready to fight if needed. The medical team rushed forward, scanners and supplies appearing. Ceres felt hands on her, voices calling her name, medication being injected. The pain began to fade, replaced by a numb floating sensation. "Stay with us, doctor," someone was saying.
"Stay awake." Emma's face appeared above her, still tear-streaked, still determined.
"You promised. Promises do not break." "No," Ceres managed to whisper. "They do not." As they lifted her onto a stretcher, as they rushed her toward the medical bay, she kept hanging. The medical bay was too white and too quiet. Ceres had woken to find herself in one of her own treatment rooms, surrounded by equipment that beeped and hummed and monitored her vital signs. The chest wound had been serious but not fatal. The blast had caught her at an angle, burning tissue and cracking bone but missing anything immediately critical. She would live. That was what the other doctors told her. She would recover fully, given time and rest. But what Ceres remembered most from those first hazy hours of consciousness was not the pain or the doctors or even her own close brush with death. It was the presence beside her bed. 7 children who refused to leave, 7 pairs of eyes watching her, waiting for her to wake up, to speak, to prove she was still there. "You are supposed to be resting," she whispered when she finally found her voice. "So are you," Marcus replied. He sat in a chair that someone had brought, Emma asleep in his lap. The others were sprawled on the floor around the bed, some sleeping, some just watching. "How long have you been here?" 2 days, Kenji said. They tried to make us leave. We said no. We can be very loud when we want to be, Yuki added with a small smile. Saris tried to sit up and gasped at the pain. Immediately, all 7 children were alert, reaching for her, asking if she was okay, if she needed anything, if they should call the doctor. I am fine, she assured them. Just sore. What happened after the pirates? Is everyone safe? The pirates are in custody, Marcus said. Commander Thexal wants to talk to you when you are feeling better. He has been here 3 times already. He apologized, Emma added, now awake and climbing carefully onto the bed beside Saris. He said he was wrong. That got Saris's attention. Commander Thexal did not apologize easily. What did he say? He said a lot of things, Marcus replied. But mostly he said that any species that could produce children like us, and any individual that would die to protect someone else's young, deserved better than fear and suspicion. He said the hearing was canceled. We get to stay with you. Officially. Tears pricked at Saris's eyes. She had not realized how much tension she had been carrying. How afraid she had been that they would be taken away. Officially, she repeated softly. If you still want us, Connor added quietly. We know we are a lot of trouble. Saris reached out and pulled them closer, ignoring the pain in her chest. I want you. All of you. Forever if you will have me. We already said you are ours, Emma said firmly, as if this settled everything. You cannot take it back now. Over the next week, as Saris recovered, something shifted on the station. It started small. A Felonian engineer brought toys for the children, ones her own offspring had outgrown. A Verdanian botanist taught Zara and Misha how to grow earth plants in the hydroponics bay. The cafeteria staff started preparing human-friendly meals without being asked. But the biggest change came from Commander Thexal himself. He visited Saris in the medical bay on her 5th day of recovery. The children were at their lessons, finally convinced that Saris was well enough to be left alone for a few hours. The commander stood at the foot of her bed, his mandibles clicking in a pattern she had learned to recognize as uncertainty. Dr. Saris, he began formally, I owe you an apology. Several, in fact. You already apologized, Commander. Not adequately. He moved closer, his multiple eyes reflecting the medical bay lights. I let fear guide my decisions. Fear based on war, on loss, on seeing humans only as enemies. I did not see them as you did. As individuals. As children who needed help. You lost people you loved in the war, Saris said gently. So did I. Fear is natural. But it is not acceptable, Thexal replied. Not for someone in my position. Not when it causes harm to innocents. He paused, his antennae drooping slightly. When I saw those children standing over you, covered in your blood, defending you with such fierce loyalty, I realized something. I have been so focused on what humans might do that I never asked what they actually are. And what are they? Saris asked. Loyal, protective, capable of great love. Thexal clicked his mandibles. All the things I claimed they could never be. All the things we pride ourselves on as civilized species. They have it too. They just express it differently. They are also loud, messy, emotional, and they have absolutely no sense of personal space, Saris added with a slight smile. But yes, they are all those good things too. I want to make changes, Thexal said. Policy changes. I have been speaking with Coalition Command. We want to create integration programs. Cultural education. Opportunities for mixed species families like yours. Like mine, Saris repeated, testing the words. A Valerian mother with 7 human children. A family that should not exist according to galactic norms. A family that existed anyway. Built on love and blood and fierce mutual protection. If you are willing, Thexal continued, I would like you to help develop these programs. Who better to teach us about integration than someone who has lived it? Before Saris could answer, the door burst open. Emma ran in, followed by the others. Their lessons apparently ended early. The child launched herself at Saris's bed with complete disregard for medical equipment or healing injuries. Sarah Mama, look what I made. She thrust a drawing at Saris. It was done in the bright, cheerful style of a 5-year-old with figures that were more suggestion than accuracy. But the meaning was clear. 8 figures holding hands, one with wings and feathers. 7 smaller ones with various colored hair and skin, all of them colored in the same shade of red. At the bottom, in Emma's careful printing, were the words, We are family. Family bleeds together. Saris felt tears running down her face. Thexal's mandibles spread and what she had learned was a smile. "That is beautiful, small one," the commander said to Emma. "May I show it to the other council members?" Emma looked at him suspiciously. "Are you going to try to take us away again?" "Never," Thexal promised. "I was wrong to try the first time. Your family is yours. No one will take it away." Emma considered this, then nodded. "Okay, you can show them. But tell them we are staying together." "I will tell them," Thexal agreed. As he left, Marcus moved to Ceres's bedside. "Did he mean it? The policy changes?" "I believe he did," Ceres replied. "Sometimes people need to see something impossible before they can believe it is possible. You children and what we have built together showed him that." "Good," Yuki said firmly, "because other kids should not have to go through what we did. Other families should not have to fight so hard just to exist." Over the following months, as Ceres healed and returned to full duty, those changes began to take shape. The station implemented educational programs teaching all species about human culture, behavior, and child development. In return, the children attended classes about galactic history, about the many species that made up the coalition, about the wars and the peace and the fragile bridges between them. Slowly, fear began to transform into understanding. It was not easy. There were still incidents, still misunderstandings. Connor got into a fight with a Xanthari child who called humans murder beasts, and both ended up in Ceres's office explaining themselves. Zara accidentally scared a Delphinian girl by laughing too loudly. Marcus struggled with anger management as he dealt with the trauma of everything they had been through. But there were victories too. Emma befriended a young Valerian who had lost her own family, and Ceres watched as her daughter shared toys and comfort with someone who understood loss. The twins organized a station-wide games day, teaching alien children human games while learning theirs. Connor started a coding club that attracted students from 6 different species, and Ceres found herself not just parenting 7 children, but becoming an advocate for something larger. She worked with Thexal to develop guidelines for cross-species adoption. She trained other medical personnel in human pediatric care. She stood before the council and spoke about her family, about what she had learned, about what was possible when fear was set aside. The formal adoption ceremony took place 6 months after the pirate attack, in the station's main assembly hall. It was a private affair, just Ceres, the children, and a few close friends. Commander Thexal officiated, his voice solemn as he spoke the words that made legal what had already been true in every way that mattered. "By the authority of the Galactic Coalition, I recognize this bond of family. Ceres of Valeria, these children are now legally your offspring. Marcus, Emma, Kenji, Yuki, Connor, Zara, and Misha, you are now legally the children of Ceres. May your family know peace and joy." The children wore new clothes for the occasion, but Emma insisted on bringing her tattered bear and the drawing she had made in the medical bay. When the ceremony ended, all 7 children rushed to Ceres, wrapping her in a tangle of arms and laughter and a few tears. "We are really a family now," Emma said, as if there had ever been any doubt. "We were always a family," Ceres replied, holding them close. The ceremony just made others recognize it. That evening, back in their quarters, now officially designated as family housing, they celebrated with a meal that mixed Valerian grain dishes with human pasta and vegetables from a dozen worlds. The children told jokes and argued over who got the last piece of dessert and made plans for the next day.